Hello, this is Charles from Cinema Tunes Records, and this is Tales of Terror from Reddit 10. It's titled Tales of Terror from Reddit X because X is 10 in Roman numerals, and the title X sounds cool. Mega Man X, X-Men. Anyway, this is Tales of Terror from Reddit 10. One of the videos I've planned to make for a while, but never have gone around to until now. It was because I took a break from YouTube and chose to wait until I get better production material to make more YouTube videos in the future. And I was also doing very good in art online, so if you have yet to check out my DeviantArt account or wherever you see my art on, go ahead and follow those. I also made some animations, but I'm mostly illustrative. Well, this is Tales of Terror from Reddit X. So far, the most I had done was the slides on Google Slides. Yeah, Google Slides is now an outdated program for me, so I might pivot to another program soon, like with my own art. Maybe even pull up some gameplay footage online. But for now, the most I have is the slides on Google, and a Google document containing the stories that I have permission to read. I actually asked for permission a long while ago, and just never have gotten around to it. I'm gonna read it for them now because I asked them to, they gave me their okay, so I'm gonna fulfill it. And even though it's been a while since I asked their permission, I'm pretty sure they'll be okay with it, and I doubt they'll care enough to copyright the video for YouTube because of it. Anyway, we shall begin. I regret turning my hobby into a full-time job. Written by Short Story 1. I regret turning my hobby into a full-time job, and at the time, it felt like an amazing change, like I was progressing. I used to enjoy secretly going up to people who are dead, but are fully enjoying themselves being dead. And I would bring them back into the world where they will have to work again, pay bills, and experience other uncomfortable feelings. I saw a dead person on the ground, and he was smiling, and the knife stabbed into his chest was what was keeping him dead. He looked so peaceful, like he had finally found peace and that nothing could bother him. I snuck up on the body, but the dead body rose on its feet. The body had an automatic mechanism which will stand up and fight anyone who tried to pull the knife out of him. I fought the body and pulled the knife out, and the man was now back in life. He begged me to stab him again, and I sadistically said no, and he cried some more. I threw the knife and I told him, while laughing, "Now that I forced you back into the world, you now have to work, pay bills, and meet people you don't want to meet, and do things you don't want to do." And I walked away. The reason I enjoyed doing this was because somebody else did it to me. I was happily dead, but some punk pulled out my axe from my head. After doing this hobby for a while, somebody had spotted me and asked me if I could do it to a dead person they knew, but for money. It was illegal to force happily dead people back to life. From then on, I only started forcefully bringing back happy dead people from the living people that paid me. Like I said, it's not as simple as pulling out the knife or bullet, because at first you would have to fight the body, which has an automatic response to fight back. On my last job, I was paid to pull out a sword from a happy dead guy. The person who paid me was jealous that this guy got to escape the rat race and had evil intentions towards the happy dead guy. It's a selfish game. As I went towards the dead body to pull the sword out, the body, like a robot, jumped up to its feet and formed wings. It tried to fly away, but I held it down and pulled the sword out, and the dead guy was back in life. He cried and cried to be stabbed back, but I didn't do it. I miss doing it all for fun to happy dead people that I want to do it to. Now I have to listen to the people paying me. I have to do it on their timetable, and I miss doing it for fun instead of responsibility. Too late now! The May Snow, written by FinnJake72. The village was old, poor, and isolated. Trade with the neighboring villages was difficult, almost impossible during the long cold winters. If the crops were bad, then the people would starve. Centuries before, out of desperation and necessity, they had forged the deal. The May Snow would come, but it required an offering. Since the early age of the village, the giving tree stood tall in the square. Grotesque giant limbs sticking out of its unnatural angles, sending thin spidery-like branches in every possible direction. The leaves, like the rest of the tree, were pure white. When the 1st of May hit, the whole town put itself to work. They all had to do their part. The farmers plowed the fields and set the seeds. The others dug the small hole at the base of the tree. 2 weeks later, when the fields were ready, they gathered in the silent darkness at the giving tree. It was always the firstborn of the year. There was no discrimination on status. The blood pouring from its cuts was carefully collected. Once the small, innocent body was buried, the blood was poured in a circle around the base. No words need to be spoken. Beginning at the roots, they could see the red making its way up the dead white of it. It was time to go home before it came. Once the animals were shut in, and everyone in town was safely back at home, they prayed. They did their best to shut out the baleful crying emanating from the giving tree, echoing loud and terrible across the village. And so the May Snow began to fall. It silently powdered the roofs and empty streets in the black of night. Most importantly, it fell thickly upon the fields, fertilizing that year's seeds with its nourishing content. This year, the crops would be good. They had done what they must. The May Snow would now fall relentlessly for 3 days, always the same deep crimson red color. Ryan and the Sunflowers, written by Iloquestersula. Apologies if I pronounced the name wrong. Ryan hadn't quite realized his deep horror of sunflowers until the damn things became trendy on Instagram, and Kelly started insisting that they visit a local sunflower farm for selfies. After all, it is quite easy to go through life avoiding sunflowers. Ryan had childhood memories of them wilting and musty at his mother's funeral. Later, he remembered a batch growing wild on a patch of the earth close to school. They were so tall, their brown speckled heads nodding in the blinding sunlight, birds flapping around them, and those ugly yellow petals. Ryan hated them, hated walking by them, and was relieved when they moved to a sunflower-free place. Then he was able to forget the plant monsters, and even his nightmares of them, brown and yellow, flapping and nodding, faded. Until now, Kelly was obsessed with social media. Ryan didn't mind and even started enjoying it, arranging his sushi on a plate just so before eating, stopping every so often for those all-important couple selfies, and joining her in reading comments and comparing the number of likes on different photos. But this was different. He didn't even know at first why he kept finding excuses not to visit the sunflower farm, until one day in early fall, Kelly said she'd planned it. They were going this Saturday, as it would be the last weekend of the season that the farm was open to the public. She said it in a tone that brooked no disagreement. And instantly, Ryan's childhood horror awakened, as intensely sharp as when he had to walk by them twice a day, trying to avoid the sight of their beastly speckled seeds, filled heads, and flapping large petals. Saturday morning arrived too soon. Kelly looked stunning in a bright blue dress, and she fussed with Ryan's matching lighter blue casual-looking t-shirt. Blue will pop against the background. See, sweetie? And she showed her screen displaying millions of pictures and grinning fools. Ryan shuddered and turned away. As they drove closer to the farm, his misery grew deeper. The blobs of browny yellow against the dark green shone brighter, and their haunting, terrible smell hung in the crisp fall air. The crowd was unbelievable. Clearly, they were not the only ones hoping to catch the best last sunflower pics of the season. The happy farmer took their cash and ushered them towards the field. Ryan felt he was suffocating. Kelly's voice came from a distance. "Here? What do you think, sweetheart?" The laughing, chattering crowd seemed to pull him away from her and deeper into the mass of sunflowers. He glimpsed Kelly arranging her sun hat and skirt. Then she vanished from sight. The crowd melted. Ryan was alone, surrounded by sunflowers, their seeded dark heads towering over him, leaning down closer. Their petals brushed against his skin. He sank to the earth, screaming hysterically. The plants bent over him, covering him with green leaves and yellow petals, and he knew nothing more. In the Walls, written by Fireside Chats 451. The house seemed too good to be true. 4 bedrooms, a spacious backyard, and well within our budget. How could anyone pass it up? We didn't hear the rumors until after we'd moved in. But who believes in ghosts? Especially when you can get a house for half its worth. Then my wife woke me up in the middle of the night, her voice frantic as she whispered, "Do you hear that?" I did. A rustling in the walls. It came and went. never staying long enough for us to figure out what its source was. Then came the smell, a musk with undertones of rot. At first, we thought we had mold, but there were no signs of leaks. Just the occasional wet trail in the bathroom, but never enough to cause concern. It wasn't until the sinkhole that we realized what we'd been living on. The hole swallowed our entire living room. As we looked down into the gaping crater where we used to watch TV, we saw them. Snakes. Thousands of snakes, writhing like a single living thing. The exterminator said they must have been under the house for years, growing and breeding, moving through the plumbing, slithering in the walls. I'm tired of these mother-freaking snakes in this mother-freaking house. Sorry, I just wanted to add this here because it was funny and too good to pass up. The Monster Under Your Bed is There for a Reason. Written by Dre Chenu. Sorry if I pronounced the name wrong. It was always there for as long as I can remember. Even when I was a small baby, I think I saw it hiding beneath my cradle. I can't be sure about that, of course, given the earliest thing I can remember is when I was 4. I remember seeing a dark shadow open my window and crawl inside before sliding beneath my bed. The sight completely terrified me, of course. I couldn't even muster the courage to get out of bed. I couldn't even find my voice to call out to my parents. I just huddled beneath the sheets, fully aware that there was something below where I was sleeping. When I woke up the next morning and managed to steel myself enough to take a look, there was nothing there. I told my parents, but as you'd expect, they chalked it up to my imagination. This didn't occur all the time, mind you. Weeks or even months could pass by where nothing would happen. Though I was always too scared to actually try and peek beneath my bed whenever it did happen. Our house was near the woods, which was otherwise really fun, but it made me occasionally wonder just what it was that was doing this. Was there some strange lizard or forest man hiding out in the woods? I could only assume that was where that thing came from, given that was the direction the window in my bedroom faced. Now, many of you might be wondering as to why I simply didn't lock my window shut. Well, at the time, I was too young to figure out how to do it, and when I finally did get the hang of it, I would almost always find that one of my parents had undone the lock at one point to let some fresh air in and sunlight in. And truth be told, my room did get uncomfortably hot in the summers. And there would be periods when that monster didn't visit me at all, to the point where I even began to doubt myself as to whether or not it had existed at all. Fast forward a couple of years, when I was 10 and had thought I had grown out of my silly childhood fantasies of monsters. I had left the window open and nearly nodded off when I heard a strange sound. To my utmost horror, the window began opening. The lights were off, so I couldn't make out what it was that came in, but it slid underneath my bed. Mind you, about 2 years had passed since the last time I saw the thing, so I chalked it up to a nightmare by this point. Now, I was wide awake and upright in my bed, unsure of what to do. Should I run? What if the monster grabbed my feet? Should I shout dead? Before I could raise my voice, I felt a sudden chill enter my bedroom. It was as if I had just walked into an open freezer. Against the moonlight, I saw another shadow approach my window. If I had been scared before, I was nearly petrified now. I didn't know what that shadow was, but every fiber of my being was screaming at me to run, only I couldn't find it in me to even move. It was then that I heard a voice. "Daniel, come and hide." It was a strange, raspy voice. It didn't even sound like a human could make. "Ag!" I screamed as I felt something touch my leg. I looked down to see that the monster beneath my bed had extended an arm to grab onto me. As you can understand, I was completely startled. This had been one of my worst fears, after all, but the hand didn't pull me underneath as I expected. Instead, I heard the same voice again. "Quick, hide." I saw that shadow against my window now nearly blot out any incoming light completely, and the fact that it had grabbed my leg had snapped me out of my stupor. While I didn't like the monster underneath my bed, I didn't like whatever was outside even more. I crawled underneath my bed and the monster surprisingly made room for me. "Shh," it whispered. My heart pounded loudly as I heard multiple feet hit the floor of my bedroom. Now the cold was nearly unbearable, and I began to shiver uncontrollably. But even then, I didn't dare go out to look at whatever else had followed the monster underneath my bed. I could even hear its hard, deep breathing as its feet began moving across the floor. By my count, did it have 6 or 8 legs? Regardless, I don't think I'd ever been as scared before in my life as I was at that moment. For what seemed like an eternity, I lay there, underneath my bed, no longer even caring about the monster beside me. Eventually, the pressure relented, and the temperature went back to normal. It was only when the monster beside me decided to crawl out, and nothing happened, that I did too. I was safe, for now. I never got a good look at whatever it had been that was hiding under my bed as it crawled out the window and into the woods. Needless to say, I didn't get any sleep that night, ran into my parents' room, and whined until they let me sleep with them. It's been some years since that incident, and nothing of the sort happened again. As I've grown, though, I've begun to appreciate certain things. Namely, the fact that thing knew my name and that it looked out for me at that moment. Something I heard once now sticks out to me, that there is always a bigger fish. There may be lots of monsters in the woods near my house, and some of them are worse than the others. One is frightening enough to chase another one of them to hide under my bed. There seems to be a food chain even amongst monsters. I keep my window open whenever possible now. I'm not too scared of what comes to hide under my bed, though I'm still terrified of whatever chased it to hide there. But given that the monster under my bed did help me out, I feel like I now owe him one. And if I ever encounter that other terrifying creature, I'll at least know when I should crawl underneath the bed. So remember that when you think about monster under your bed, it might be there for a good reason after all, and it might be worse for you if it weren't there. Filled with Love, written by Why Mr. Y. Fill them with love. Those were my mother's last words to me. This woman who neglected me my whole life spoke those words as if they were her only regret. The phrase left her lips as her eyes studied my kids through the window of her room, each of them having a conversation while waiting in the hospice hallway. Then she passed away of a very preventable disease. I blamed myself, of course. When I broke the news to my children, their tears broke my heart. It was then that I decided to honor her words in every way that I could. "Can I have $5 for the book fair, Mom?" my youngest boy asked sweetly. I told him yes and slipped the extra $25 in his bulging lunch sack. Each of their meals entailed an apple, an orange, 3 cheese sticks, jello, a pudding, 4 juice boxes, and 2 stuffed ham sandwiches. On top of the large buffet sat notes that read the motto I'd adopted: "Filled with love." When my twin daughters' birthdays came around, it was the same thing. There were 5 cakes, each with 4 tiers. In total, there were allowed to invite 50 friends. 70 came, and we were the talk of the town for a while. 5th graders don't often have parties with an entire bounce house mansion. The depth was worth it. Many of our guests got ill from eating too much ice cream. I told all of the parents the same thing. They are filled with love. Shortly after that, my babies wanted a dog. You should have seen their faces when I came home with the whole pound. We didn't feel the need to cage any of them. They were family after all. A few of the animals weren't the best house guests, but I was always sure to fill them with love. When flu season came, as it always does, 2 out of 3 caught a bug, and the other soon followed. None of them were able to attend school while the house was filled with the sounds of coughing. I knew just what to do. The woman at the drugstore gave me a strange look, but I figured she'd never heard my mother's last words. After a few boxes of pills and bottles of syrup, they each took a very restful nap while my entire house was filled with love. Keep Calm, written by SuckMyBellybutton. I was woken up in the middle of the night by my 1-year-old child screaming and crying in the middle of the night. There was a storm raging outside, flashes of lightning and booms of thunder, along with the constant sound of pouring rain, so I wasn't surprised he had woken up. Despite the darkness of the house, I had no trouble navigating after the years we've lived in this house. Other than the occasional painful step on a Lego, I got to his room pretty fast and saw him standing up in his crib. He was way more upset than I had ever seen him before. He looked scared, terrified even. There had been storms before and he had never reacted like this before. Then I saw him. During a brief moment, a lightning strike lit up the room. I saw the outline of a man hiding behind the drapes. My heart immediately started beating faster. Will he attack me? Does he know I've spotted him? No, if he knew, he would have attacked me already. I picked Aiden up as calmly as I could and started talking to him as I normally would. Aw, did the lightning scare you, little guy? Come on, you can sleep with me and Mommy tonight. I started walking out the door back to the master bedroom, and that's when I heard the drapes being pulled to the side, and he spoke with a raspy voice. Did you see me? Well, it doesn't matter now. I heard him dashing towards me, and I ran to my wife only to see another strange man standing over the bed where my now dead and bloody wife lies. Ice Fleet, written by Hyperobscura. It was dubbed the Ice Fleet by the fishermen who first encountered them. Thousands upon thousands of unmarked research vessels traveling to and fro the polar ice caps in steady streams. They didn't show up on any marine radar system, an anonymous fisherman stated. It's like they weren't there. And people started disappearing, the fisherman claimed. Anyone who asked questions, rumors soon started spreading, and outlandish conspiracy theories were haphazardly woven at alarming rates, some of which catalyzed dangerous movements like Storm the Poles, an ill-fated crusade that led to the demise of half a dozen simpletons. Countless theories, and not one of them even came close to the truth. Corpses. Farhan Paswan, one of the researchers who later came forward, said, "We were transporting frozen corpses. With the steady melting of the permafrost, a stark and impossible discovery had been made. Thousands, millions, billions of solidly frozen human corpses started appearing everywhere. At first, we figured it had to be some extinction event of old, maybe a lost civilization devastated by sudden climate change," Paswan continued, "but it didn't make sense. There were way too many of them. And then a broadcast interrupted by the global government-sanctioned 30-minute calmness break. Please remain calm. Please remain in your home. Please remain safe. Thank you. We will now return to your regularly scheduled program." And that's when they shot Dr. Nakagawa in cold blood in front of everyone, without hesitation or warning. And for what? For asking questions? For wanting to tell the truth? To let the public know? Dr. Kwaito Nakagawa is officially listed as missing. None of the old governments have even gone on record to collaborate Farhan Paswan's claims. As far as we know, Farhan Paswan, along with the remaining members of the Truth Collective, was soon after arrested, charged with the brand new crime treason against humanity. There are assumed dead, executed no doubt by one of the old governments. If it wasn't for their bravery, the world would have never known. Over the course of weeks, the collective was able to smuggle out vital documents from the ever-moving Ice Fleet, which, as we all know, led to the immediate global collapse of all major governments. We all remember the first headline, 30-minute, they are us. The Ice Fleet exposed. Millions of corpses unveiled in the melting polar ice caps reveal a horrifying truth. Sofia Ozols from Riga, Latvia, was the first of the frozen to be identified. Paswan said, completely by chance really, a crew member knew her. They must have been frozen in the ice for thousands of years, longer probably. But they were us. Sofia Ozols was still very much alive, but there existed on the Ice Fleet another Sofia Ozols, an identical one. Identical versions of each and every one of us. Identical except for one vital difference. They were 10 years older. This has been a global government information broadcast. 3 months, 5 days, 10 hours, 53 minutes remaining. Baby Pinata, written by Hyperobscura yet again. It was Maddie's birthday, 7 years old. Seemed like only yesterday she was puking all over me. Whilst I was desperately trying to fit half a ton of laundry into the washing machine, juggling her and the detergent around like a circus clown. We weren't really planning for a Maddie 2.0, but then Wilhelmina came along 6 years later. And there I was again, juggling a baby and a cake around, anxiously trying not to get vomit anywhere near the icing, but failing the task miserably. A few drops here and there probably wouldn't kill anybody. Maddie didn't really take to being a big sister quite like we'd hoped. Sibling rivalry, I guess. Maybe a feeling of neglect. She'd get over it though, I was sure of it. And some days, she absolutely did. She played with little Mina, made funny kissy faces at her, carried her around like a doll, even though she wasn't allowed to, and genuinely seemed to adore her. But there were also bad days. Days when she yelled at her, ignored her, even hit her. Not hard, mind you, just gentle slaps, but it scared me. And it scared me even more how angry I'd get. You feel guilty for even thinking it, you know? Hurting your children? I never did though. Came very, very close. So there I was, tired, sweaty, filthy, carrying little Mina around like a football, setting plates, lighting candles, getting everything ready, while my good-for-nothing but also wonderful husband was entertaining the little demons outside. "I can watch Mina for you," Maddie's cheerful voice suddenly called. Yeah, could you, sweetie?" "Sure," she chirped, carefully lifting Mina out of my football grip. "I'll show her all the decorations outside and the baby pinata." She smiled, skipping outside playfully whilst babbling incomprehensibly to Mina, leaving me to suffer the war zone that was my kitchen. I was so out of it, you know, so I didn't really catch it. Not until it was too late. We didn't have a baby pinata. We had a pinata, sure, a llama one. No one in their right mind would swing at a baby pinata. A llama, on the other hand. I caught a glimpse of them swinging at it while I was doing the dishes. Laughter and joyful cheers were barely audible over the sound of our neighbor trying to get his lawnmower started. Maddie skipped into the kitchen whistling a merry tune. "I'm hungry, Mom. Can we eat soon?" Maddie, I stammered. "Where's Mina? What'd you do to Mina?" The lawnmower started, and someone hit the llama with a forceful swing. "I tucked her away," Maddie said. Discordant sounds as the lawnmower struggled to gain momentum. Wild screams permeating the air, bestial howling shrieks. You didn't," I murmured, a horrid realization entering my mind. "You didn't put her in the pinata, did you?" Maddie threw her head back and laughed heartedly. "No, silly," she said. "I hid her under Mr. Mortimer's lawnmower." Who's in My Room? Written by Individual Ad 445. My mom often likes to come into my room to scare me, usually waiting behind my door when I got back from school, or even just barging and yelling. But I was startled today when I sat in bed and watched her staring at me from the closet while I tried to nap. That's when she yelled, "Dinner's ready," from the kitchen. Thanks for listening. I hope you had a good time listening to this episode of Tales of Terror from Reddit. And I'm going to talk to you guys about future plans. What am I going to do with the Tales of Terror from Reddit series from here on out? Don't know. But from what I can say, things are looking good for me. I might not do as much Tales of Terror from Reddit anymore, so this might be the final episode of the season. The final episode of the series if Tales of Terror from Reddit doesn't get another season. But I'll do other readings, like I'll read other creepypastas, and I still have the Maniac McGee book, so I might finish that sometime soon. I also asked for permission to read the Treasure Island Abandoned by Disney creepypasta. I asked for permission from the author Slime Beast, just never gotten around to reading it. Well, I'll see you guys next time. Have fun.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Goodbye.